Okay, so today we are going to learn how to bake a cake. And the instructions are right here. So we did a lot of our prep work already. We cleaned a large counter area in the kitchen. We took out our butter, eggs, and buttermilk. We gathered all of our equipment and all of our ingredients, and we preheated the oven. So now the only thing left in the prep is to separate the eggs for the cake recipe. So we're going to separate our egg yolks into a mug, and our egg whites are going into a clean bowl. So Christine, if you could just look at the recipe and tell me how many eggs we need to separate.
4.
Okay, so to separate an egg, we're going to first break the egg and then hold it over your bowl so that the whites will go into the bowl. And we're just going to maneuver it back and forth to separate that egg white. Great, and then our yolk goes into the mug. Okay, and then we repeat that 4 times. How are you doing?
Good. No eggshells yet, so we're good.
All right. Oh boy, I made a mess of this one.
That was like my first one.
Oh, I'd like to note while we're doing this that we did wash our hands before we touched our ingredients. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now that we have our eggs separated, we're actually going to just clean up a little bit. We're going to make sure that we cover our egg whites, because egg whites, if there's anything in the egg whites, a little piece of shell or any type of debris at all, they are not going to stiffen up when we try and make them.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, what's the next step on our list?
We are going to lightly grease our cake pan with margarine.
Okay, so the best way to do that, or the easiest way, is to simply take a piece of paper towel, grab some margarine, and then you're just going to lightly brush the margarine throughout the whole surface of the pan, including the sides. Make sure you get the corners really well, because we don't want it sticking. Great. Okay. Now that's the end of our prep. So now we'll get on to actually baking the cake.
Okay, so the next step is, in a saucepan over low heat, stir chocolate and water until chocolate is melted and set aside to cool. So we need 4 ounces of German sweet chocolate and half a cup of water.
All right.
Here is our 4 ounces of chocolate.
Okay, I'm going to get you to show me how you measure that water. So now it appears that you have a half a cup on the cylinder, but I'm just going to get you to put it on the counter and show me how you would actually eye it up to measure it. Okay?
I waited until the water quit moving, Okay. And then I got down and I saw that the water was at the half cup mark.
Perfect. Okay, now you can put it in. Okay, and then I will gather my water. Yeah, just turn your stove on to about a medium. Good. And now you have your whisk there, so you're going to continually stir it until it is completely melted.
That was my burner. I don't know that quick, but I just started.
All right, Christine, so what is our next step?
We need to combine the butter and sugar. So we need 1 cup of butter and 2 cups of sugar.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the butter's here and the sugar is right here. So butter is pretty easy to measure if you actually go off of the package. So 1 brick of butter is typically 2 cups of butter. So I'm just going to take a knife here and we're just going to put this right down the center. And that should give us an equal amount. Okay, I'm just going to slice here without slicing your hand.
It's okay if you do. I'll forgive you.
Alright, butter in the bowl.
And then the sugar.
Okay, and how much sugar do we need?
We need 2 cups.
2 cups. Okay. So I'll show you how to measure the sugar out and then I'll let you do it.
Oh, I have no.
Alright, so for sugar, well, I should have put it in a bigger container, I think. All you have to do for sugar is basically shake it level. Okay, white sugar. So 1.
And then we are going to combine until it's creamy.
Okay, great. So you'll just, take the wooden spoon and you're just going to work at it. So this part is a little bit time consuming. Some people like to use a mixer. I don't own a mixer, so this is how I do it. But if you had a mixer, you would definitely use a mixer. Okay, so now we've creamed our butter and sugar. What's the next step?
We are going to add egg yolks 1 at a time, mixing well after each addition.
Okay, perfect. So our little egg yolks that we have in our mug, all you're going to do is simply just dump 1 out at a time if you can. So pop it in there, and then you're going to mix it really well. Okay, that's perfect. Next one. Oh, some of mine broke, so I'm guesstimating here. fell in, so we're going with it. Great. Just keep mixing till it's a nice consistent yellow color. Should be nice and creamy. Good, it looks great. All right, Christine, what's the next step?
Okay, so in a medium mixing bowl, we are going to combine the flour, baking soda, and salt, and then add that alternately with the buttermilk to the creamed mixture that we made already. So we need 2.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt.
Okay, so you have your 1 cup measuring cup. So for flour, it's just a little bit different than sugar, just because of its texture. So you can shake it a little bit, get all the excess off the top, and then what you do is you just run over it with a knife. And try and keep it all in the container. All right, and that's what I'm gonna do. You got this. Okay, so how much do we need?
2.5.
Baking is messy work, so we won't worry too much. Oh my. And then our half cup.
Teaspoon of baking soda and half a teaspoon of salt.
Okay, so grab your teaspoon. This is the baking soda. So for the baking soda, I just actually scrape the top there, and that gives you a pretty level scoop.
And half a teaspoon of salt.
Oh, here I go making a mess again. Okay, use your teaspoon. All right.
Should we mix this?
Yeah. Mix it together. Together our dry ingredients. Now what's the next step on the recipe?
We're going to measure out 1 cup of buttermilk.
Okay. So again, using your liquid graduated measuring cup, and you're going to go to eye level up to your 1 cup measure.
buttermilk alternately to the chocolate mixture that we have already.
I like to use a little half cup for that. Great, and then mix it up really well.
Good, and then add some buttermilk.
Just a little dollop. That's good. Your boys are gonna love this cake.
Tyson can't eat it.
All right, so we're gonna keep this up until we have used up all of our dry ingredients and our buttermilk. All right, so what's next on our recipe?
We are going to beat our egg whites using a mixer at high speed until peaks form in the egg whites.
Okay, so basically you're going to make sure that you have your little, the proper beater in the proper hole, first of all, in your mixer. Then you're going to plug it in, put your beaters into the bowl before you start it, and just to warn you beforehand, before you pull them back out of your mixture, or you're gonna make a huge mess. So it says high speed, so, oh, it's not working. Are we plugged in?
Oh, not all the way.
Oh. We whipped up our egg whites, and as you can see, there's stiff peaks formed on the top of our egg whites. So our next step is
To fold the egg whites into the cake batter, being careful not to overwork the batter. The egg whites should be well incorporated, but too much folding will cause the cake batter to fall flat.
okay. So this is one of the trickier parts of baking a cake from scratch. So you're going to plop in all of your egg whites. And all you're going to do is you're actually just going to take your spatula, you're going to raise up some of that batter, and you're going to slowly fold it in around the egg whites. And you can just turn your bowl around as you're doing it, just so that it incorporates all the way through. So you're basically pulling the batter from the bottom up around through the top. It's going to start looking like a little bit of, I don't even know what to call it,
Not nice.
sea foam.
Looks like foam padding's been ripped up and put in the cake batter.
There. Well, that's what it's supposed to look like. So we're good. And just keep folding until you can't really see the individual specks of that egg white anymore. But that's where we stop. So as soon as you fold that last fold over and you have no egg whites on your spatula, that is when you know it's done. Good, you're almost done. Okay, there you go.
That's okay, or do I need to?
That's perfectly fine, yeah. Okay. And now for the fun part. We're actually going to put our batter into our pans. Okay, and just make sure you scrape the sides. Go nice and lightly and pour it in. Okay, and just take your spatula and you're just going to smooth it really lightly because you don't want to overwork this batter. It's going to be nice and even in the pan. Everything's in there. Good. That's it. Now we're going to put it in the oven, and how long do we bake it for?
We bake it at 350 for 50 to 55 minutes.
Perfect. Now, all right, Christine, so we're gonna make our icing now. So give us the next step.
So in a saucepan, we're going to combine a cup of evaporated milk, a cup of sugar, our egg yolks, half a cup of butter, and a teaspoon of vanilla. We're going to cook that over medium heat until it's thick, and we're going to stir it the whole time.
Okay, great. All right, so let's put our butter in. We have half a cup of butter. Okay. And then our evaporated milk, we are going to measure in our liquid measuring cups. Oh my goodness, I'm making a mess here. Good. Okay.
Egg yolks.
Perfect. Oh. And we
Oops.
got a PPE violation in this one.
Okay, so a cup of sugar.
A cup of sugar? Okay.
Yes, a cup of sugar.
Alright. Oh boy, we hardly have any sugar left in here, so we're just gonna pour it.
Is there more in the pantry?
I'm not sure if we have more in the pantry. Well, that wouldn't be good if we had more sugar.
There's gotta be sugar in there somewhere.
I'm sure there is. So we'll the rest of it here and then hunt for some more sugar and add that. Okay, so when we were doing the icing, we unfortunately couldn't videotape it because we cannot leave the icing to burn, so it has to be constantly stirred, so there was no time to play with the video camera. So I will mention a couple things now after we've already made the sauce. We stir it constantly until it thickens, and make sure that you're not splashing any of it anywhere because it gets really, really hot, and hot sugar is just probably one of the worst things you'd never want to get burned by it. So just making sure that you're always aware of keeping it in the saucepan. All right, and now we're going to remove it from the heat because it's thickened up well, and we are going to add the rest of our stuff to it. Okay, so Christine, walk us through what our next step is going to be.
So next we are going to add 1.5 cups of coconut and 1 cup of chopped pecans to the icing that we made, and then we're going to stir it until it is cooled.
Great.
Looks like a cup exactly.
Great. So, you know what 1 bag equals now.
Half a cup. Cup.
Okay, so this icing is actually going to thicken up a little bit as it cools, which is good because we want it to be spreadable. We want to be able to Okay, so we have our oven mitts here for safety, and all we're going to do now is our cakes have actually been out of the oven for quite some time, so we let them cool in the pan first, just to avoid them crumbling and falling apart when we flip them over onto the cooling rack. So now all we're going to do is, with our oven mitts on, we are going to nicely flip the pan over, okay? And hopefully, if all goes well and we did our job right, it will pop off. Okay, let's put them back. Let's cut the sides of them. Okay, so we took our cakes out of the oven and a while ago, and we let them cool on cooling racks, and then we actually cooled off our icing enough that it was still spreadable, and you basically just pour your icing over top of the cake. And this is our end product. So we made German chocolate cake with coconut pecan icing, and that is